ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः। गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां हितये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। अपार करुणा सिन्धुं ज्ञानदं शान्तरूपिणं श्रीचन्द्रशेखर गुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम्। अवित्यज्य मौनं मठादस्थितिं च व्रजन् भारतस्य प्रदेशात् प्रदेशं मधुस्यन्ति वाचा जनान् धर्ममार्गेण यन् श्रीजयेन्द्रो गुरुर्भाति चित्ते नमामि शङ्करान् वाक्यविजयेन्द्र सरस्वतीं श्रीगुरुं शिष्टमार्गारुणेदारं सन्मतिप्रदं सत्यनारायणक्षेत्रात् सत्यव्रतमुपागतम् आश्रये कामकोटीशं सत्यश्रीचन्द्रशेखरं सद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। So today is Jayanthi of Adi Shankara, Shankara Jayanti. So what we will do today is, instead of looking at Gita, we will see some of the aspects of importance of celebrating Shankara Jayanti and how Shankara Jayanti is to be celebrated and what Mahaperiva, Puduperiva, Balaperiva and the Ilaya Periva says about how to celebrate Shankara Jayanti. Adi Shankara was born about 2500 years ago. So at that time, the Vedic Madam, our glorious Sanatana Dharma, was being challenged by lots of different Madhams. We first need to understand the difference between Astika and Nastika Madhams. In current parlance, Astika means that the person who believes in God is called as Astika. The person who does not believe in God is a Nastika. That's what we currently understand. But that is not the actual definition of Astika and Nastika. Astika is a person who accepts the Vedas. The definition is not about personal God. The definition is about Vedas. A person who accepts the Vedas, the person who accepts Punyam, Papam, Swargam, Narakam, Moksha. Because all these things can only be proven by Vedas. Punyam, Papam, Swargam, Narakam, and Moksha. These 5 entities can only be proven by Vedas. It cannot be proven by anything else. So a person believes in those, then the person is called as Astika. If a person does not believe in Swarga Naraka, Punya Papa, Moksha, then that person is called as Nastika. Even if they believe in a personal Bhagavan. That is very important. So what happened in Adi Shankara's time, about 2500 years ago, was we have got the influence from several Nastika Matas. Matas who do not believe in Vedas. And even among the Astika, the Vedic religion, there are Matas who said there is no need for Bhagavan. That type of philosophy is called as Nirishwara philosophy. I believe in Vedas, but I do not believe in Bhagavan. There were Matas, Purva Mimamsa, Yagnikas. They say, I touch fire, the fire is going to burn me. Why should there be Bhagavan in between? I have done karma. The karma itself will give me karma phalam. There is no need for a karma phala data. So they were called as Nirishwaravadins. These two people were very high among the educated parlance. And as Bhagavan Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada Yada hi dharmasya glanar bhavati bharata, abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatma sambhavami yuge yuge, tadatmanam srijamyaham, paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya cha dushkritam, dharma samsthapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So as promised by Krishna, Parameshwara came down as Adi Shankaracharya. He did the Khandanam of the Nastika Matas. He also did the Khandanam of Nirishwara Matas. Dvisaptati Madochetre Namaha is one of the Namavalis in Adi Shankara Bhagavad Pada's Ashtottara Shatanamavali. He did the Khandanam of 72 Mathas. Mathas now, don't think that as a religion, of paths, different paths. And Acharya did a great job that we don't even know the names of some of the matas. Those matas exist only in textbooks. There is nobody who practices the matas. And we have to be very important. We should not equate the Acharya's annihilation of matas to the religious wars that we see these days or that we read from our recent history. It was never done by force. It was never done by brutal force. No, you convert to my religion or you are going to die. Acharya never would. He never does that. It is always an intellectual pursuit. He will ask people for debate. Right? And the common people were honest those days. There's going to be some judges, and then the setup was, hey, if I lose, I become your follower. You lose, you become my follower. My follower, Adi Shankara does not need follower, but the follower of Vedic Dharma, Vaidika Dharma. And that is how he converted the people, not by using brutal force, not by threatening them, not by bribing them with money or rice or cash, not by telling, hey, if you don't come, you are going to burn in hell. Acharya does not resort to all these things. It was always an intellectual pursuit, and people were very honest in those days. People were ready to accept when they have defeated. And people are also ready to accept Acharya's position, because Acharya was such a great person. Like that, he reinstated the Vaidika religion, the original Vaidika religion, along with Ishvara. When we do any karma, we say Mamopata Samasta Duritakshay Dwara Shri Parameshwara Prityartham. All these sankalpam, we have to thank Acharya. Because in olden days, people were not doing everything for Parameshwara Prityartham. People were doing, I want Sargam, I want this thing, I want that thing, that is why I do karma. Acharya, he brought everything, he synthesized all the things, and he says, no, any karma that you do should be for the Preeti of Parameshwara. Otherwise, you are going to accumulate karma, and karma brings punyam papam brings varganarakam and next janma. So, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, jatare shayanam, it is going to continue. We are seeing that in Bhagavad Gita as well. How karma, both punyam and papam, are bad equally. If papam is an iron shackle, punyam is a golden shackle. There is no question that these both are shackles. In fact, whatever we study in Gita, we follow that in our life, whether we know it or not. Acharya has devised it in such a way. And not only that, he reinstated Vaidika Dharma by doing Khandanam of Avaidika Mathas. He also brought unity among the Vedikas. What happens is that unfortunately, even the greatest of the greatest people, when they do avatara, they have their own sect. I'm not criticizing anybody. We have to be very careful not to criticize anyone. But this is what happens. There's going to be common people, and then one great Mahatma comes. All of his followers is going to follow a separate sect. I am a Gandhian. Followers of Mahatma Gandhi. Or whatever, all the religions that we see today. It is all made by, it is going to have like one particular founder. The founder may be a Mahatma, but when the founder comes, the founder of that religion comes, he is going to separate people from the masses. Other people are different, you are different. So whatever the Mahatma may be, instead of unifying people, they in fact separate people. They divide the people. But what Acharya did was, instead of dividing people, he actually unified the already divided people. Because already in the Vaidika Dharma, people were divided based upon their Ishta Devata. Some people were worshipping Surya. Some people were worshipping Mahaganapati. Some people were worshipping Murugan. Some people were worshipping Ambal. Some people were worshipping Vishnu. It is okay. People were fighting as well. My Swami is Mahaganapati, so everybody is lower than my Swami. You hold your Swami in the highest pedestal, that is okay. But you cannot degrade other Swamis because they are also implied in Vedas. They are also told about in Vedas. So Acharya, the next biggest thing he did was Shanmata Sthapana. He Ganapatyam, Kaumaram, Sauram, Vaishnavam, Shaivam, and Shaktam. Ganapatyam is worship of Mahaganapati. Kaumaram is worship of Murugan. Sauram is worship of Surya. Vaishnavam is worship of Mahavishnu. Shaivam is worship of Shiva. Shaktam is worship of Amba. He reinstated the Panchayatana mode of worship. Panchayatana mode of worship is there in Dharmashastra itself. But people were attached too much to their own Ishta Devata. They started only doing Shiva Puja, only doing Shakti Puja, only doing Salagrama Puja. Matta Devataya Tottale Teetingra level, the people were thinking. Acharya, no, that should not be there. All the devatas have to be kept in the same pedestal. And then they have to be worshipped. The Panchayatana Puja, Shad, Shanmata Sthapanam, all these things Acharya did. In doing so, Acharya is the one first and only person to unite people after his coming. That is why we don't see any person who follows Shankaracharya calling themselves with the different names. Vaishnava, Sri Vaishnavas, different people, different, they call themselves as different. But we don't call ourselves as a different person. We call ourselves as Smartas, Shrautas and Smartas. Everybody was Shrauta and Smarta. But then some Mahatma came, people, they were inclined towards that Mahatma. That Mahatma carved out a person and then they went out as a separate sect. Acharya does not do that. He did not do that. That is why he is called as Jagadguru. Because no matter what Devata that you worship Shiva. Acharya is the Guru. Acharya has composed shlokas on all the 6 Devatas. Shanmata Devatas, Acharya has composed shlokas. That is why he is called as Jagat Guru. Only if you worship Vishnu, I am your Guru. Otherwise, don't come to me. Only when you worship Shiva, I can be your Guru. Otherwise, don't come to me. Or the converse is also possible. If you come to me, you should only worship Shiva. If you come to me, you should only worship Mahavishnu. If a person tells that, then they cannot be called as Jagat Guru. Because what about the other people? In fact, the other people are going to be bigger in number who do not worship the Devata that you want them to worship. Then they cannot be called as Jagat Guru. But Acharya is called as Jagat Guru because Acharya covered everybody, covered all the bases of Bhingra, covered everybody. That is why he is fit for the title of Jagat Guru. And at the same time, while he was doing a lot of social engineering, now the term social engineering and all is being used. Acharya has pioneered that. He also worked towards the unity of Bharata as a nation. Because in many temples, you go to Badrinath, there's going to be priests from South India. You go to Nepal, there is going to be priests from South India. Right? So he takes some priests from here, ask them to be there, some priests from there, ask them to be here. The Char Dham Yatra, all these things are because of Adi Shankaracharya. So he did not want people to be separate. He wanted people to be united, geographically, socially, politically as well. And while Acharya was doing all the social engineering, he was also a prolific author. He wrote lots and lots of texts. Within 32 years, Acharya lived only for 32 years and he started composing probably after 8 or something. So within the 24 years that he got, he wrote different number of texts. They can be classified into 3 types. One is called as Bhashya Granthas. Another is called as Prakarana Granthas. Another is called as Stotra Granthas. We all should know, at least know the names. Bhashya Granthas, the basement of the Hindu religion, the Sanatana Dharmas, Vedas. The topmost part of the Vedas, or the end of the Vedas, called as Vedanta or Upanishads. Acharya wrote Bhashyam for 10 major Upanishads. In fact, we get Bhashyam for about 12 to 13 Upanishads, but of that 10 Upanishads are called as Dasopanishad. Acharya has written Bhashyam for all the Dasopanishads and the other Upanishads like Shveta, Shvatara Upanishad, etc. So the first type of Upanishad, first type of Bhashya that he wrote was Upanishad Bhashyas from Vedas. What happens was, Upanishads are like different chapters in a textbook. When you take a physics textbook, there's going to be one chapter on light. There is going to be another chapter on sound. There is going to be another chapter on atom. There is going to be another chapter on force. There is going to be another chapter on electronics, etc. Upanishads were like that. Even though they belong to the same book, they were like different chapters. They were told for different disciples. Even if we take physics book, the physics book of a 5th grader is going to be different than the physics that the 12th grader is going to study. The physics that a 12th grader is studying is definitely different than a physics that a bachelor's or master's student is studying. And the physics that the bachelor's or master's student is studying is definitely different in difficulty level than the physics that a PhD student is studying. You cannot argue that no, how can physics be different? F is equal to MA. E is equal to mc square. These are all common equations. I'm going to introduce E is equal to mc square in grade 5 is equal to grade 5 itself. F is equal to ma in grade 5 itself. Schrodinger's equation in grade 5 itself. We cannot do that. It has to be tailored for different type of disciple. Upanishads, there are totally 108 Upanishads, they say, are like different chapters in a textbook. They are like the textbooks for different levels of students. So for a person who reads all the 108 Upanishads, it might seem it is seemingly contradictory to each other. One Upanishad will talk about Srishti in a different way. Another Upanishad talks about Srishti in a different way. What is true, what is false? How can there be two Srishti? There should be only one Srishti. One Upanishad will try to explain Atma Tattvam by different way, in different analogy. Another Upanishad will try to explain the Atma Tattvam by different analogy. Why there is a difference now? There is a difference in the level of understanding of the disciple. So it all based on what is the disciple's mental state, disciple's ability to understand. There was a great Acharya called as Vyasacharya, Badarayana. He divided the Vedas, that is why he got the name Vyasa. He did not compose any mantras or Vedas. He did not compose the Vedas. He was organizing Vedas into different books. And he found that, hey, for an uninitiated, this problem might come. Many different Upanishads has got different way of explaining, so people can get confused. So what Vyasacharya did was, he organized the Upanishads into a common textbook or curriculum, etc. They are called as Brahma Sutras. So the Brahma Sutras is taken from Vedas, it's taken from Upanishads. But he removes the seeming contradiction between the Upanishads, and he removes the seeming contradiction between the Purva Bhaga and Uttara Bhaga of Vedas. They are called as Brahma Sutras. Of course, Vyasacharya lived 5,000 years ago, at the advent of Kali Yuga, the interface between Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. So already 2,500 years have passed since Vyasa compiled, not wrote, since Vyasa compiled the Brahma Sutra. So people are having doubts on Brahma Sutra. So Acharya wrote a bhashyam on Brahma Sutram as well. So the first bhashyam that he wrote was Upanishad Bhashyam. The second bhashyam that he wrote was Brahma Sutra Bhashyam. And the third major bhashyam that Acharya wrote was for Bhagavad Gita. In fact, in our Bhagavad Gita class, we follow closely the Shankara bhashyam. Sometimes I will also read from the Shankara bhashyam, because even we understand or not, it does not matter. It is good to just read. That is the only way by which we speak with Adi Shankaracharya. Or we can feel the Shankaracharya speaking to us, when we read his words. So we see that. So Upanishad Bhashyam, Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam. These Bhashyams, these three things, Upanishad, Brahma Sutra and Bhagavad Gita, are called as Prasthanatrayi. So collectively, these Bhashyams are called as Prasthanatrayi Bhashyam. So the first type of Grantha that Acharya wrote is called as Prasthanatraya Bhashyam. And then Acharya thought, hey, Upanishad Bhashyam, very big. Bhagavad Gita Bhashyam, the shloka itself is 700 shloka. The Bhashyam is going to run pages together. Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, again, very big, huge. People will not have mental ability to understand. They don't have time. They can only spend half an hour in 1 week for all these things. So people do not have time. People have to do other things as well. Acharya has, he knew that. So what he did was he also wrote other grantha called as Prakarana grantha, where he took the messages from Upanishads, etc., Upanishad, Brahma Sutram, and Bhagavad Gita. He composed small shlokas. It can be like very small as 3 verses or 5 verses. There is a great Pratasmarana Stotram. Stotram that you are supposed to chant every day after getting up in the morning. Pratasmarana Stotram. 3 shlokas. But he put the entire crux of Vedanta in those 3 shlokas. And then he has also written big shlokas like Viveka Chudamani, etc. Again, describing in detail the concepts that have been explained in Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, and Brahma Sutra. So the next work that he did was Prakarana Granthas. So the first type of work is Bhashya Granthas, commentary to the original texts. Second work that he did was Prakarana Granthas, where the words are Acharya's words, but the subject matter is from Upanishad, Brahma Sutram, and Bhagavad Gita. So that is the second type of work. Again, problem came. Not everybody is interested in Vedanta. Some people will find Vedanta to be very intellectual. Normally, people can be divided into 2 types. Who are very, very intellectual, who are very, very emotional. If there is a problem that comes, you can see these 2 types of people. One person will try to analyze the problem, they will try to solve the problem without getting too much attached towards the problem. Another person will cry, blah, do everything. So the first person is intellectual person, the second person is emotional person. The division need not be for different people. The division holds true for the same person under different circumstances as well. Sometimes I myself will act very, very intellectual. Sometimes I myself will act very, very emotional. If the problem happens to others, I will be very intellectual. But if the problem happens to me, I will be very emotional. Right. So, Acharya understood that, hey, the path of intellectual pursuit might not be suitable for everybody at all the time. So, Acharya wrote Stotra Granthas. Granthas on the Shanmatha Devatas. Mahaganapati, Ganesha Pancharatram, Subramanya Pujantam, Vishnu Shatpadi Stotram, Saundarya Lahari, Shiva Padadikesha Varnana Stotram, etc. So these are huge Stotra Granthas of Acharya. But the beauty of Acharya is that he will sprinkle the concepts of Vedanta into these shlokas. Just like how if you have a very nice payasam, there will be nice mundri paruppu, cashew, dry grapes, raisins, small pieces of coconut fried in ghee, etc. in that payasam. Payasam is like Stotra Grantham. The cashew, the raisins, the small coconut pieces are the Vedantic concepts that are present in the Stotra Granthas. அப்படியே போற போக்குல அப்படியே ஸ்பிரிங்கிள் பண்ணிட்டு போயிடுவார். The cherry on top அப்படின்லாம் சொல்லுவாங்க அந்த மாதிரி. So the third type of grantha that Acharya wrote was Stotra Granthams. So these are the 3 major works of Acharya: Bhashya Grantham, Prakarana Grantham, Stotra Grantham. Apart from that, Acharya also instituted several mathams, institutions for propagating dharma. for propagating Vaidika Dharma. So he has established numerous matams. Some people say he has established 4 matams, some people say he has established 5 matams. No, Mahapariva says in Daivathin Puran, for a land mass as big as India, to say Acharya only established 4 matams or 5 matams itself is a wrong thing. Acharya would have established lots of matams. And when we look in Shankara Vijaya Granthams, we can see that, only in Kashi itself, Acharya has established 5 matas. Some of the matas are still in there, at least the names of the matas. In Kerala itself, Acharya has established 5 matas. Tirkil Matam, Naduvil Matam, etc. Some of the matams are still there. So Acharya had established numerous matas. But of those, there are 5 important matas called as Amnaya Pitham. In 4 different cardinal directions of Bharata, in eastern direction, northern direction, western direction, southern direction, etc. And he has established one matam for his own self. So Purvamnaya Matam, Uttaramnaya Matam, Dakshinamnaya Matam. In the banks of Tunga and Bhadra, Acharya established the Dakshinamnaya Matam. Puri is on the eastern side, Purvamnaya Matam. Dwaraka, Paschimamnaya Matam. Like that, Acharya established the 4 Amnaya Matas, Pitas. And then in the Kanchipura Kshetram, Acharya established the Moolamnaya Matas for his own self. In the 4 matas, Acharya has instituted these 4 matas and he has said 4 different Sishyas of Acharya to preside over those matas. And he kept the Kanchi Kamakoti Pita for his own self because Kanchi is the Nabhisthanam of the entire universe. Nabhisthanam, if you see in Kamakshi Vilasam, Nabhisthanam Bhuv Param is Kanchi Kshetra. So there he established the Moolamnaya. And there are glorious Shankaracharyas. All the Peetams established by Acharya. And in the Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam, we have, of course, the Avichinna Guru Parampara. Right from Acharya till Satyachandra Shekharedhara Saraswati Swamigal, we have got the Avichinna Guru Parampara right from Acharya. So we have established 5 matams. All these matams has been given roles to act as guardians of Dharma. Right. All the matams established by Acharya has done great work on preserving the Dharma and preserving the Vaidika Dharma. You see, in our matam, our Shankaracharyas have sent people to Kashmir to celebrate Shankara Jayanthi. Currently, today, Shankara Jayanthi in India is being celebrated in Kashmir. Not 5 years back or 3 years back, where the article of 370 has been abrogated. But 20 years back, since 20 years back, people are celebrating Shankara Jayanti in Kashmir. And our Periyava has blessed a beautiful sankalpam that actually asks for the abrogation of Article 370 in Kashmir. They have done that 20 years ago. And I think because of all the sankalpa phalam only, the Article 370 was abrogated in Kashmir. Currently, today, as of today, Shankara Jayanti is being celebrated in Assam. In those places, people don't even know what is Vedas. The Veda Matha has been downgraded so much, degraded so much in those places. People celebrate Shankara Jayanti in Assam today. People celebrate Shankara Jayanti in Kashmir today. All these things because of the institutions that are established by Adi Shankaracharya. So Acharya has done great work. And Mahaparibha says, hey, Jayanti, na, the Shankara Jayanti. Na, when you say Jayanti, it is Shankara Jayanti. Because we have got so much celebrations. Right? We have got Narasimha Jayanti, Ramanavami is the Jayanti of Sri Rama, Krishna Janmashtami is the Jayanti of Bhagavan Krishna, Pillayar Chaturthi we celebrate Deepavali, we celebrate Pongal. நமக்கு ஃபெஸ்டிவலுக்கு குறைச்சலே கிடையாது. Every other day there is going to be a Punya Kala, there is going to be a festival. So somebody asked Mahaparibha, which is your favorite festival? Yes, Deepavali, you are going to have lots of bhakshanams. Ganesh Chaturthi, lots of festivities, Kolkata, etc. So what is your favorite festival? If somebody asks Mahaparibha, say, you should tell Shankara Jayanti. Because only because of Adi Shankaracharya, we celebrate all these Jayantis. Acharya was not there. If we would have become a Nastika ourselves, so we would not have got a chance to celebrate all these Jayantis. So Jayanti Nam Jayanti, Shankara Jayanti, Acharya says in Daivatyanma. The greatest Jayanti of all time is Shankara Jayanti because we have got celebrations, all the other celebrations we still celebrate today because of Adi Shankaracharya. Says Mahaparibha and Daivatyanpura. Mahaparibha wishes Shankara Jayanti to be celebrated in every small village. We have to have the picture of Adi Shankaracharya, take out in a procession, celebrate in temples nearby. Because Acharya is the only reason because of which all temples even exist. And Acharya says in Devatyan Kural, a peculiar way of celebrating Shankara Jayanti in Kanchi Kamakshi temple. Now Acharya he went to Kailasha, and while coming back, he has got 5 lingas. One of the lingas is still in Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam. Only the Acharyas of Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam do pujas for that linga. It's called as Yoga Lingam. There is one in Chidambaram. There is one in Dakshinamuni Peetam. The other 2 lingams are elsewhere. One in Nepal, one other way. But we don't know. The only lingam that has received continuous worship for 2500 years by the Sishya Parampara of Adi Shankaracharya is present in Kanchi Kamakoti Peetam, Chandramoulishwara Swami. Along with the 5 lingas, Acharya also brought Saundarya Lahari. And we know the story of Saundarya Lahari. Some part of Saundarya Lahari was taken out by Nandi. And Acharya himself have composed the remaining part of Saundarya Lahari. So there are 100 shlokas. And in Kanchipuram, Mahaparibha says, they celebrate the Saundarya Lahari festival along with Shankara Jayanti. They start from the Shankara Jayanti day. Each day, the idol of Adi Shankaracharya will be taken out in procession, will be kept in front of Kamakshi Ambal. 10 shlokas from Saundarya Lahari will be sung. There are 100 shlokas of Saundarya Lahari. They do Parayana of 10 shlokas each day. After every shloka, people do Nevedyam of Dhupam, Deepam, Harati, etc. So they do it for 10 days, they will cover all the 100 shlokas of Saundarya Lahari. So this is how Shankara Jayanti is celebrated in Kanchipuram. And if you see the Jagadguru Vachanam, people are doing great job of taking the speech excerpt of the Periva, the Shankara Vijayendra Saraswati Swami, and we publish, I think today or yesterday, a Jagadguru Vachanam will come. Where Bala Periva says this type of Shankara Jayanti to be celebrated everywhere. Especially he mentions about people in foreign countries. Daily chant starting from Shankara Jayanti day, that is today, chant 10 shlokas of Soundarya. One day, 10 shlokas. It is going to take probably 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Chant one shloka, do Nevedyam of some grapes, etc., dry grapes, etc. You can do the same Nevedyam, same dry grapes. I mean, you can do dry grapes Nevedyam for all the 10 shlokas, that is okay. But do a Nevedyam, Dupam, Deepam, Harati, and then chant another shloka, and then do Dupam, Deepam, Harati, Nevedyam. Like that, the whole process will take 15 minutes maximum. Even if we don't know Soundarya, reading 10 shlokas a day is not going to be a very difficult task. So Bala Pariva has told that especially for people who are living abroad. Means in India, only in Kanchi Kamakshi temple is being followed. Bala Pariva has said people who are living in abroad, everybody should do it in their house. That's how Bala Pariva has proclaimed Shankara Jayanthi to be celebrated. So let us all celebrate Shankara Jayanti in the way that is prescribed by the Shishya Parampara of Adi Shankaracharya and get the Ananta blessings of Mahapariva, Jayendra Pariva, Bala Pariva, and Ilay Pariva. We'll continue with Bhagavad Gita in the next class. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Purnamadaಃ Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate Om Shanti 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari